Arizona wants to pipe desalinated water from Mexico's Sea of Cortez to solve one of America's most severe water crises. And California has every reason to pay close attention. Several of these proposals would trade new water supplies for portions of California's own Colorado River allocations. On November 19, 2025, Arizona's Water Infrastructure Finance Authority gave unanimous approval to 4 major water augmentation proposals for pre-development, and officials described the moment as a huge milestone. Combined, these projects could deliver between 427,000 and 1.6 million acre-feet of water annually by the mid-2030s, which translates to enough supply for millions of households in a state gripping with its worst drought in 1,200 years. And here's what makes this situation more complex than a single headline suggests. No single Arizona aqueduct project exists. Arizona has assembled a portfolio of water proposals, and the primary source for most of them sits in the Gulf of California, also called the Sea of Cortez. The plan involves constructing massive reverse osmosis desalination plants in Mexico, then routing that water to Arizona through a mechanism that avoids building hundreds of miles of new pipeline. The approach works like a trade. Arizona would fund desalination plants in Mexico or California, deliver that water locally to those regions, and receive an equivalent amount of Colorado River water through the existing Central Arizona Project Canal. Building new infrastructure from scratch becomes unnecessary because the system to move Colorado River water into Arizona already operates. The Central Arizona Project, known as CAP, ranks among the largest and most expensive water conveyance systems ever constructed in the United States. Spanning 336 miles, the project cost between $4 and $4.4 billion during construction between 1973 and 1993, and it currently moves roughly 1.4 to 1.5 million acre-feet of water every year. That existing infrastructure becomes the delivery mechanism these new proposals would connect into. Understanding why Arizona has committed to such an expensive solution requires grasping the crisis unfolding across the Colorado River basin. The Colorado River Compact promised 16.5 million acre-feet of water annually to the 7 states that depend on it, but recent drought has slashed actual flows to approximately 12 million acre-feet. That gap of 4.5 million acre-feet has drained Lake Mead and Lake Powell to roughly 1/3 capacity. What's alarming is the timeline. Lake Powell could hit deadpool by summer 2027, meaning water levels drop so low that releases through the dam become physically impossible. Without aggressive cuts to water usage, that scenario looms as a genuine threat. Arizona already absorbs significant pain from this crisis. The state holds junior water rights compared to California, which means Arizona faces 512,000 acre-feet in cuts representing about 30% of the Central Arizona Project's normal supply. Under certain post-2026 operating proposals, Arizona's cuts could climb to 760,000 acre-feet during the driest years, and that threatens both the state's agricultural sector and its rapidly expanding cities. 4 specific proposals earned pre-development approval from Arizona's Water Authority. The Acciona-Fengate Water Augmentation Alliance submitted the first, with Acciona being a Spanish firm and Fengate Capital coming from Canada. Their proposal contains 4 components: irrigation modernization, spanning Mexico, California, and Utah; a Gulf of California desalination plant producing 150,000 acre-feet annually by 2034; a Pacific Coast desalination option; and wastewater treatment facilities. EPCOR, a utility headquartered in Edmonton, Alberta, submitted the second batch of approved concepts. 3 separate ideas made up their proposal: capturing Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta runoff, constructing a Baja California Gulf desalination plant capable of generating between 167,000 and 500,000 acre-feet annually by 2034, and developing groundwater aquifer storage and recovery systems. WEFA Chairman Jonathan Lines laid out the exchange concept directly. We could exchange water, produce water for them, and transport it a very short distance in exchange for off-taking from the Colorado River. He pointed to proven technology, noting that over 120 desalination plants operate worldwide. The most detailed early proposal came from IDE Technologies, an Israeli company, in December 2022. WIFA ultimately rejected IDE's plan, but it established baseline specifications that remain useful benchmarks. IDE proposed a $5 to $5.5 billion project featuring a 200-mile pipeline stretching from Puerto Peñasco, Mexico, to the Phoenix area. Water would climb from sea level to 3,853 feet at the United States border. Initial capacity would reach 300,000 acre-feet annually, with expansion potential to 1 million acre-feet per year. IDE estimated water costs between $2,500 and $3,200 per acre-foot and required a 100-year purchase agreement. Those cost figures deserve attention. Central Arizona Project water currently runs approximately $155 per acre-foot, while desalinated water estimates land between $2,200 and $5,000 per acre-foot. That gap raises urgent questions about payment responsibility. A Pima County study projected household water bills could jump $60 to $90 monthly if desalinated water becomes a meaningful portion of supply. The path to this moment has been anything but direct, and tracing that timeline reveals the obstacles these projects have already encountered. Desalinating water from the Sea of Cortez isn't a recent idea. A binational feasibility study examined the Puerto Peñasco area back in 2008, and the International Boundary and Water Commission conducted another study in 2020. Pima County explored a $4.1 billion desalination project for Tucson in 2021. The current momentum started in January 2022 when Governor Doug Ducey toured an IDE desalination plant in Israel and returned with ambitious plans. His State of the State address that same month announced a $1 billion water augmentation initiative, and by May 2022, he had signed Senate Bill 1740, directing that $1 billion to the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority over 3 years. Events accelerated quickly, maybe too quickly. IDE Technologies presented their $5.5 billion proposal in December 2022, and just 4 days later, the WIFA board unanimously approved a non-binding resolution to pursue discussions. That speed triggered outrage. State Senator Lisa Otondo put it bluntly. "I'm sorry, but this reeks of backroom deals. Please do not tell me to move quickly, as if we have to get it done by January 5th. State Representative Rusty Bowers disclosed that he had signed a non-disclosure agreement about the project before any public discussion occurred. January 2023 brought Governor Katie Hobbs into office, and Ducey's rushed arrangement fell apart. The fatal blow arrived from an unexpected direction when the Sonoran government in Mexico publicly denounced IDE Technologies, accusing the company of a lack of ethics. An official government tweet declared, "The government of Sonora will no longer deal absolutely anything with them." Officials charged that IDE attempted to convert a courtesy meeting into a water purchase negotiation while misrepresenting their support. Governor Alfonso Durazo stated, "I am going to defend the interests of Sonorans. That is my responsibility." He labeled the original plans utter absurdity. WIFA walked away from IDE and announced a competitive procurement process. But then funding started disappearing. Governor Hobbs proposed just $33 million for WIFA in January 2024, compared to the scheduled $333 million. A June 2024 budget deal sliced WIFA funding by nearly $500 million due to state deficits, leaving just $376 million available from what had been a $1 billion fund. The process continued despite reduced resources. WIFA issued a formal request for information in August 2024 and received 6 or 7 proposals by August 2025. November 19, 2025, brought approval for 4 proposals from Acciona Fengate and EPCOR, while a new submission from Zarata, affiliated with IDE, was rejected for failing to provide required information. Tom Bushatsky, Arizona's Department of Water Resources Director, called the November approval a huge milestone for the state, adding, "We have huge water challenges facing us. California's intense focus on these developments comes down to direct impact on its own water supply." Multiple Arizona proposals explicitly target exchanging desalinated water for portions of California's Colorado River allocations. EPCOR's concepts include capturing Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta runoff and treating San Diego wastewater, providing that water locally to California, while Arizona takes equivalent Colorado River water through the Central Arizona Project. California secured the most senior lower basin water rights through the 1963 Supreme Court decision, Arizona versus California, which entitles the state to 4.4 million acre-feet annually, with priority over Arizona and Nevada during shortages. Any discussion affecting those allocations commands California's full attention. Timing amplifies the stakes. Current Colorado River operating guidelines expire at the end of 2026, and the 7 states that depend on the river remain locked in disagreement over new terms. Arizona achieving success with water augmentation could shift the entire negotiating dynamic. J.B. Hamby, California's lead Colorado River negotiator, offered a blunt assessment in December 2025. Lame. Can I use that word? We're still in the same holding pattern we've been for the past several years, and real conversations need to happen. He added elsewhere, it's now 2025. The same problems are on the table. In the last 2 years, we've been spinning our wheels. States missed their November 2025 deadline for a new operating agreement, pushing the target to February 14, 2026, with little sign of progress toward a deal. Opposition to Arizona's desalination ambitions has organized around several concerns, with environmental groups leading the pushback. The Sierra Club Grand Canyon. Chapter spearheads resistance. Jennifer Martin, the chapter's program manager, argued, desalination is just not sustainable due to high energy use. This would shift the ecological burden for Arizona's unwillingness to confront our water limits to our neighbors to the south. Environmental objections cover multiple fronts. Desalination consumes more energy than any other water source, creating friction with climate commitments. Concentrated salt waste called brine gets pumped back into the ocean, endangering marine ecosystems. The Sea of Cortez produces between 50 and 70% of Mexico's gross fishing production, meaning ecological damage could devastate an entire industry. Original pipeline routes would cut through Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, a UNESCO International Biosphere Reserve. Sandy Barr, the Sierra Club chapter director, called crossing Organ Pipe ludicrous, noting, the reason that it's a national monument is because it's a special place. Cost skeptics have voiced their own warnings. Sarah Porter, who directs Arizona State University's Kyle Center for Water Policy, cautioned, we don't need to run out and find another couple 100,000 or 500,000 acre-feet of water. Kathleen Ferris, a former Arizona Department of Water Resources director, argued, it's not the state's responsibility. It's up to the people who benefit from this project to pay for it. Supporters counter with appeals to urgency and proven technology. Craig McFarland, mayor of Casa Grande, highlighted the agricultural industry's sense of urgency as farmers leave fields unplanted. Terry Sue Rossi of Arizona Water Company offered a measured take. It is not the panacea. It is a piece of the puzzle, and it is a piece of the puzzle that is worthy of exploration. Adele Haga-Khalil, general manager of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, framed the regional challenge. Every water user across the basin must commit to using less, while as a basin, we look for opportunities to augment supplies. The current status of these projects as of late 2025 requires careful distinction between approval and actual construction. All 4 proposals have been approved for pre-development exploration only, with no construction contracts signed. A public comment period has opened, and environmental reviews will proceed under the National Environmental Policy Act. No money has been committed to any company, and final cost estimates await determination. A separate but connected project also moves forward. The SRPCAP interconnection facility would link Arizona's 2 major water systems, the Salt River Project and Central Arizona Project, enabling two-way water transfers. Federal funding of $154 million came through the Inflation Reduction Act. Total project cost sits at approximately $250 million, with completion expected between 2028 and 2030. Significant uncertainties hang over these plans. Mexico's cooperation remains unsecured following the Sonoran government's 2023 denunciation of IDE. California must consent to any water exchange arrangements, and those talks haven't started. State funding stays uncertain with only $376 million available against the original billion-dollar commitment. Post-2026 Colorado River operating rules remain undefined, which could reshape the entire context for these projects. Governor Katie Hobbs has requested federal involvement, stating, "As we approach critical deadlines, we need the Trump administration to step in, exert leadership, and broker a deal." Interior Secretary Doug Burgum toured Arizona water systems in December 2025, indicating federal interest in outcomes. What unfolds over the coming years represents one of the most ambitious water crisis responses in American history. Arizona wagers that desalination technology, international cooperation, and creative water exchanges can protect its future. California watches because that future may include portions of its own water allocations. The timeline presses hard, with Lake Powell potentially hitting deadpool by summer 2027 and Colorado River operating guidelines ending in 2026. Success or failure, these proposals mark a turning point in how the American Southwest approaches water. Growth across the region has depended on capturing Colorado River water for over a century. That river now delivers 4.5 million acre-feet less than promised, pushing states toward the ocean as an alternative source. The solution carries heavy costs in dollars, energy, and environmental impact. But farmers fallow their fields and cities face mandatory cuts, and the urgency is real. The next few years will reveal whether Arizona's gamble delivers returns, and whether California chooses to partner in these exchanges or defend its senior rights. Decisions made now will determine how the Southwest manages water for generations ahead. If you found this breakdown of Arizona's water crisis useful, subscribe to stay informed as these negotiations develop. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on whether desalination can solve the Southwest's water problems, and share this video with anyone who should understand what's happening to America's most stressed river system